Hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have a Protoss vs Zerg. This is not from the late night quickie number 2. This is actually just a good old ladder game. We can actually see the red and blue, and of course I am completely colorblind, so I can't tell which one is red and which one's blue. Hopefully that doesn't affect the game since we're not seeing the same race. This is a Protoss vs Zerg. Let's go ahead and introduce these players. Up here in the top right hand corner, as you have already been seeing this guy mining for quite a bit of time by this point, we have the red Zerg player. His name is Yusar. And a 7 pool going down over here, but his opponent spawning the top left hand corner of Entomb Valley as the blue Protoss player, and also sender of this replay. His original race is Zerg, but he's off racing as Protoss. Will he be able to defend against this 7 pool? His name is ialgo. Now, I kind of mentioned that this player over here, the Protoss player, is in fact off racing. He did send this replay. He's actually sent a couple in the past. We're going to have to see if he's going to be able to defend this. He did send me this replay and said that it was an interesting game and that his Protoss needed some work. So I'm actually not even sure if he ended up winning it. We're going to have to wait and see. We do see that that little drone over there is going to go ahead and scout out another spawning position, probably the top left-hand position, and while this drone goes ahead and scouts out the bottom left, that's probably a good decision from Yusar, knowing that this, because it's a 4-player map, you want to have a decent chance of scouting your opponent in time. And what is this? It looks like this might actually be a mistake from Yusar, going ahead and just scouting out the bottom left-hand corner with both of these drones. I have to feel that's definitely a mistake. But he does have his Zerglings going up to the top left-hand corner. Sorry, I think I said the top left-hand corner with the drones. They're going to the bottom left-hand corner. But the Zerglings are going to be making their way in. And ialgo going for the interestingly positioned Forge, fast expand. But that Forge is going to finish up. He does have that pylon in his main, so he is going to be able to throw down the cannons. We do see that the probe did not exactly get that scout off on... Oh, actually, no, it did get a scout off on his opponent's base, so that's why he was prepared. But the cannon trying to go down, one cannon in the back. These probes are going to try and delay these Zerglings as long as possible, because if that cannon can get up, he will be able to deal with this Zergling harassment. Another cannon going up, just trying to delay as long as possible. That cannon actually did not get the cancel off on time, so that is going to be very, very painful for ialgo in this situation. He definitely wants to be saving that money. Now the Zerglings are going to be attacking that cannon that is finishing up. The cannon is down, lost all of its shield, but the probes come in for the immediate rescue on that cannon, and all of them get cleaned up. At this point in time, it looks like ialgo is going to be able to defend. Let's take a look at the worker count. It is 11 probes to 7 drones, and amazingly, oh no, it looks like ialgo did end up losing that Forge just so tragically at the last second. Was not able to save it, and we do see a couple additional Zerglings being produced out over there. And actually, wow, only additional Zerglings on the way for Yusar at this point. I'm not sure how much I agree with that, but I do agree with this nice positioning of the gateway from ialgo, doing complete wall off, minus this little choke over here. Actually, I think this pylon might actually even be walling that off, but this cannon is going to feel pretty freaking safe at this point in time. These Zerglings are going to come in. They're going to see how much damage they can do, but this cannon is covering the entire range for this probe mining field, but they will do some damage if they kind of position themselves over here. Oh no, I don't really agree with this position at all, or this decision I should say, from Yusar, going ahead and just attacking with those Zerglings into the cannon, only really even get half the shields down. That's going to go ahead and regenerate, so it's really not going to be very costly for ialgo to just have taken some of that damage. Now the Zerglings actually just on a regular attack command on that Nexus, not really getting a huge amount of damage done, but he will eventually start to whittle away at ialgo's defenses, and ialgo does have to pull probes. I really like this decision from Yusar, going ahead and forcing ialgo to pull probes, forcing him to not be able to mine at the optimum capacity, but still just producing additional Zerglings, and really he's going to be starting to fall behind in that worker count. And even though, you know, ialgo is not mining with a huge portion of his probe army, he has to be very, very careful, just because ialgo still has a better economy at this point in time, and eventually he's going to start getting back that infrastructure. He already has one zealot out, getting that second one out in just a little bit. But still at the same time, he has to be very careful as this huge Zergling swarm is actually, wow, it's actually doing a lot of damage to that Nexus. Already got it down to the orange, but the probes are coming out at this point in time, and now we do see a couple additional Zerglings coming out, but it looks like at this point in time, once again, ialgo is going to be able to clean up his opponent's army by pulling pretty much all of his probes at this point in time. He is down to just 11 probes, so it looks like Yusar are able to make a little bit of a comeback in that work account, and now finally he's going to go ahead and start producing additional drones, and I really agree with this decision. And actually a really cute play. He actually just had one drone on gas, doesn't take a huge amount away from the mining time, and will finally now have 100 gas, and there it goes on that Zergling speed, that metabolic boost that is going to make his Zerglings that he does have a little bit more effective, although I think he's just down to 4 at this point in time. He will still have pretty good control of the map, and nice little wall off from ialgo, knowing that, hey, even if I don't have that building wall off, I can still wall off with just 3 zealots on the ramp. Good trick to know how to do as a Protoss player when you're in these kind of really weird situations. But now it looks like ialgo starting to mine gas, a little bit early to mine gas, I think, but you know, it looks like he will start to get some of that gas for that warp gate technology. Once the cybernetics core finishes up, he's just going to have to mine for a little bit longer. But finally, this game seems to be stabilizing a little bit, but not before Yusar decides to go for another all-in. Going for that Baneling Nessus could actually be very devastating for ialgo, because you have to remember, even though he is just now starting to mine the gas, he only has one gateway. He's going to be producing a stalker with that gas that he does have, and eventually we'll probably start getting that warp gate technology. But just zealots. Wow, this is like the most ballsy Zergling in the world. He was just sitting over here and be like, hey, so what up? You guys wanna let me through? The zealots are just like, they're like the freaking British guards that don't move at all ever, no matter what you're doing. So that Zergling's just like, I can stay here. They're not gonna move. And true to it, they were. The zealots continuing to not move, but let's see if they decide to move when additional Zerglings and potentially Banelings start popping in to ialgo's front. And Banelings will be able to clear up this wall in absolutely no time. We do see the Stalker kind of moving down. This is a nice little play from ialgo. He will be able to get a kind of decent scout out, but these Zerglings do have speed research, so they will be able to trap this Stalker as soon as they do notice it. But for now, it looks like the Zerglings are just going to go straight in. Please, please, yes. There we go. He is going to send them over to this little corner to morph a couple of Banelings. Wow, that's actually a lot of Banelings considering what ialgo has at this point in time. He only has these 2 gateways, does have a forge going down, so that will allow him to maybe start to establish another, a little bit of a better defensive position over here at the bottom of this ramp, so he can start to take his natural. He actually has no idea what his opponent is doing at this point in time, but now he does have that Stalker, and he knows, oh my god, I saw the Baneling nest, I saw that there was no natural expansion, he must be expecting some. There the Banelings do actually go in, taking quite a few shots with that Zealot, but oh my god, he's just going straight for the Nexus. He wants to take out the opponent's Nexus, stop all chance of rebuilding, and basically being able to get an economic lead in this game, and actually does not end up getting it. That's going to be a huge loss for Yusar, losing all those Banelings, all of those Zerglings. He actually had the potential to take out all of the defensive units of ialgo, but decided to basically waste it on trying to take out the Nexus. I really think he's just kind of out for blood a little bit too much in this game, trying to just take out the Nexus, and no matter what the cost, kind of has his eyes set too far, or his eyesight are basically too narrow, whatever the expression goes. He is only looking to kill that Nexus, and it might end up not working out for him quite as well as you would hope. Now, he does still have a very good chance at taking this game. He is morphing in additional Banelings. We can already see over here that those Banelings are going to be able to do some really nice damage, but this cannon has been morphed in. Now ialgo has a wind of the tech structures and everything that Yusar is basically going for. And now Yusar are actually going for those units. I really like this decision over here. And actually, now the Banelings are going to be able to do some good damage to the Nexus as soon as they actually start to get a chance to get past those Zerglings. Oh no, the Zerglings proving to be the fatal flaw for Yusar. But eventually that Nexus does go down and all the Zerglings are cleaned up. But looks like some nice play from ialgo. Good thinking at that last second, realizing exactly what Yusar was going for, and does decide to save up that money to build that additional Nexus. But unfortunately for him, he's not going to be mining for quite a bit of time. Now only down to just 96 minerals, and that means he is stuck with whatever units he has right at this exact second. Yusar on the in the meanwhile basically is mining with those 15 drones. Will be getting that second gas, guys. Are kind of interesting decision at this point in time. But he will be able to just continue to reinforce with this huge swarm of units, and we see additional Zerglings coming in, additional Banelings being morphed in, and I don't know, folks, but I don't know if ialgo is going to be able to hold this. It's going to be a miracle if he can somehow pull this off. But it looks like Yusar is getting ready to move in. He does have a couple of Zerglings just picking away at this pylon. Going to be doing some nice scouting to see exactly what unit composition that ialgo has. But the sentry lays down a nice little force field, is going to be able to stop all of these Banelings from moving in. One Baneling does detonate, and now it's just down to that one sentry. There are no units that can be morphed in at this point in time. The drones, or sorry, the probes are forced to be pulled off, and there are still 3 Banelings left. If they get the critical shots off on ialgo's army, this probe count can dwindle so flipping fast. There are 21 probes at this point in time, but his opponent has 19 drones with 2 on the way, so that will definitely even up the worker count if he can get those shots up. But look at this great running around by the probes. They do take a couple of big hits right over there, but that sentry was able to clean it up, and that cannon also be able to do a great job at cleaning up that whole basically the Zergling count and the Baneling count. But now it looks like one of those sentries does go down. 2 sentries still do exist, and the probes are back to mining. Additional Banelings being morphed in, but the safety of this cannon is proving to be critical in this game. Yusar having quite a bit of trouble into really being able to eliminate ialgo in this game. And it looks like, wow, this is 2 great force fields, and unfortunately not the greatest control from Yusar. Unfortunately for him, he did have the opportunity to run away a little bit sooner, as ialgo decided to lay down 1 force field over here instead of or 2 force fields over there, instead of deciding to save it for to trap those Banelings. But instead it looks like Yusar, not really paying as much attention, does decide to finally take that natural expansion. And wow, here we see Yusar going for so much tech on one base. How much tech can you afford on one base when your minerals are going down to 320 per patch? Apparently you can go for a spire. And a very interesting decision from Yusar, but we're gonna have to see, is ialgo prepared for it? He does have about 3 stalkers, and honestly at this point in time he might actually be able to defend against how many Mutalisks will be able to come out from Yusar. And really, this is going to be a very interesting situation. A 1 or 2 gassing Zerg player trying to produce Mutalisks, you honestly just cannot afford that much gas on 2 base so he's going to have a really difficult time producing those Mutalisks at any kind of consistent rate. He does have actually his 3rd and 4th gas geysers up, and he will be able to start mining from those in the near future. But you can see over here that he only has 400, and now approaching 500 gas as that spire is about to pop, but he doesn't even have the minerals to support it, as he's still trying to just drone up a little bit. But now we do see 3 drones in each of those gas guys. He's definitely going to have the gas for it, but honestly, I'm not sure if he'll have the minerals for it. That's kind of a weird thing to say, where it's like, oh, you know, I'm trying to go for just pure Mutalisks, but I just didn't have the minerals for it. I mean, I had 2 bases mining gas, and yeah, just those minerals, it's such a block for those late game Zerg players at the 18-minute mark. Now approaching 19 minutes, but I mean, to each their own. An interesting build indeed. ialgo now setting up that wall off that will allow him to try and take that natural expansion. But with just those 3 stalkers, might have a bit of a hard time at this point in time trying to defend against those Mutalisks. You know, I was saying he might be okay, but I thought when I said that, Yusar only had about 500 gas, and you know, ialgo only had about 300, or sorry, not 300 stalkers. He had about 3 stalkers, so you know, the situation has kind of changed, and now it looks like ialgo looking to move out. I'm really curious if he's going to be able to do the damage he wants to do. And you can see over here in the unit counting station that there are just 8 Zerglings out on the map. And, you know, Yusar's been droning up like a madman, realizes that he needs to try and make some kind of economic comeback in this game. Now we do see ialgo be able to do a good amount of damage over here. The drones are coming out, but they're really not actually, no, the drones getting a pretty nice surround. They might actually be able to take out at least the sentries, and that's definitely going to help not having that guardian shield. The stalker's doing some good damage. The zealot's definitely tearing it up. Despite not being a Terran unit, and this stalker is now doing some good damage. All of the drones are basically cleaned up. do net that one last sentry kill, but now the Mutalisk does pop out, and ialgo should have wind of exactly what is going on. And it looks like now the Mutalisk is starting to group up, and they are going to be able to start attacking these Stalkers. Some nice attempt at micro from ialgo, trying to just run those Stalkers, the weakened ones back. But the Mutalisk count is a little bit too high. I'm not sure these Stalkers are even going to be able to get out, as the Mutalisk's movement speed is just a little bit too high, having that mobility from those areas. And now let's go ahead and take a look back in the main. ialgo starting to warp in a couple additional Stalkers, knowing that he's going to be losing those 2 Stalkers over there. Wow, a lot of Zealots warped in, and it's not going to be enough to defend against this Mutalisk onslaught. And even though ialgo is mining from one full base, he's not able to get out the Stalker count that he really wants at this point in time. He's continuing to warp them in, but will he be able to defend against this huge Mutalisk count? As the larger the Mutalisk swarm gets, the more effective it will become. We already see that even though Yusar lost that huge number of drones, he does have this third up. He's pretty actually even in the worker count. And it's going to be very difficult for ialgo to defend. Even though he does have this nice positioning over here to defend against Zergling counterattacks, he does not have his natural expansion up. He does not have that economy to start producing non-stop Stalkers if he wants to stay in this game. Because honestly, at this point in time, every single Stalker that ialgo produces and that Yusar forces ialgo to produce is just a bit of a delay on the economy of ialgo. He cannot afford to throw down this Nexus that he really wants to throw down if he continues to produce these Stalkers. Now, you can see over here that he does have a relatively decent Stalker ball at this point in time, and Yusar is going to be a little bit wary about engaging that, but we can see Yusar really realizes what exactly is going on at this point in time, so he's going to just go ahead and produce additional drones, start to get up those 3 bases, and say, hey, you know what? My opponent cannot easily take this natural expansion. Now finally be able to throw it down. Now that he knows his opponent's Mutalisks have backed off and given him a little bit of breathing room. But he still has to be wary. The Mutalisks will have the potential to sweep back in, as they are going to go ahead and do right now. I love this play. Even though that Stalker count is relatively decent, they have to be in the correct position, and they have to be very careful that these Mutalisks don't just sweep into the main. Fortunately for ialgo, he does have these 2 cannons over here, as well as this cannon over here at right behind the mineral line, so he will definitely be able to do some good damage if the Mutalisks decide to sweep in. But here we do see the Mutalisks just trying to do a little bit of harassment, do whatever they can, scare ialgo into producing more Stalkers, delay his economy just a little bit more, even trying to take out that cannon. A bit of a questionable decision, but he almost does get it, and as long as he doesn't lose any more of those Mutalisks, as long as he delays ialgo from being able to power into that economy and be able to push across the map, he's doing a fabulous job in this game. We can already see he's starting to get that ideal drone count on those 3 bases, slowly but surely. And you know, he is getting that 5th and 6th gas geyser over at his 3rd expansion. He will soon actually be able to produce the massive number of Mutalisks that he does want to be producing to really be able to just take on ialgo's army head on. And you know, one thing that's very scary for a Protoss player to deal with is that late game mass Mutalisk count, where even though the Protoss player might be trading kind of efficiently by just producing a lot of Stalkers, you have to be very, very careful, because that Mutalisk count can get so high that it doesn't matter if you're trading efficiently. The Zerg just has higher production than you, and those glaive worms definitely start to come into play as well. And you know, ialgo's just kind of trying to react to that kind of style of play that Yusar seems to be going for by producing these Archons over here. We can see that these 2 Archons are definitely going to be very effective since they have that splash damage. But you have to wonder, is Yusar going to be allowing his Mutalisks to clump up to that degree? Or is Yusar going to be having the great micro that's going to require to take on those Archons? And here we see the Mutalisk clump doing a little bit additional damage. So you do see that this natural expansion is already up for ialgo, but there's no mining going on. The probes are forced to be pulled, and some nice damage coming down from these Mutalisks. He needs to get those Archons out. What are you doing, ialgo? You have to at least try and move out. At least move out down with your Stalkers and force these Mutalisks back. He cannot afford to lose this natural expansion, and Yusar really, I do agree with this play over here, even though he could have probably tried to just A-move. Wow, that's a huge Mutalisk clump. But he could have just tried to A-move and try and focus fire down that Nexus. He decides, you know what, I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and play it safe, stick with this huge Mutalisk ball that I have over here, and just play the macro game a little bit. see what damage I can do. And here's something that ialgo is going to have to be very careful of. He's moving out, but this Mutalisk Clump, because he's moved out, is going to have to be able to have free reign in the main. And there is that nice magic boxing from Yusar, not allowing the Mutalisk to clump up against that Archon. So it looks like ialgo actually deciding he's just going to go for it, and he might actually be in for a very rough position at this point in time. Even though he does have quite a few cannons in his main, Yusar does have a massive Mutalisk Clump, and you know, with additional Stalkers warping in, he's gonna be able to do some nice damage to the Mutalisk. But at the same time, wow, it looks like ialgo able to catch his opponent completely out of I guess out of units at this point in time. The Mutalisk are forced to come back, but he has to still be very careful. There are still those 2 Archons. Look at how many kills these 2 Archons have. This one already has 10. Even going up further with that +1 damage, he's definitely going to be doing a lot of damage to those Zerglings and Mutalisk. But that one Archon gets cleaned up, the other Archon gets cleaned up, and this entire wave gets completely cleaned up. Yusar looking to be in a fabulous position to take this game. Has the worker count, has the army advantage, has the base advantage, has every advantage conceivable in this game. But the one thing that ialgo does have going for him is he does have that Templar Archives. He is able to produce those Archons, and he does finally now have mining over his natural expansion. But the Mutalisk Clump is still strong. Those Mutalisk Clump is still very, very strong, and their cannons are very limited at this point in time. It's just down to this one cannon and this Archon and a couple of, just a handful of Stalkers. Honestly, at this point in time, Yusar still playing it pretty safe, but he will be able to, as soon as he takes out that Archon, that is going to throw away so much of the gas investment of ialgo. He just does not have the gas that he wants to be able to reproduce those Archons. We can see over here in the production tab, just cannons going down, because that is exactly what ialgo has at this point in time. He has a little bit of that mineral influx, but now we can see over here these Stalkers are going to be out of position. They do not have blink, and oh no, it looks like the Mutalisk actually missed a great opportunity to do some damage. There they are now going in, get a cancel off on that cannon that was being built, and do a little bit more harassment, lower the health of that Nexus. He might actually be able to take it out, and there it goes down. Now ialgo basically resorting to long distance mining at this point in time. He does not have anything else. He has no mining really going on at a regular base. It just has this one probe. This probe's going to mine his little heart out for the Protoss ball, but you know, honestly, I'm not sure how strong the heart of this little probe can be unless he starts deciding that he can carry 3,000 minerals on his back at a time. I don't. This mineral patch doesn't even have 3,000 minerals on its back. But yeah, he's going to be in a very, very rough situation. We can even see a 4th going down. The supply differential is close to 100, and Yusar, I think he might actually just end up having this game. Even producing those roaches, realizes he just needs that big power army unit that's good in those big and like frontal engagements before the 200 supply max army situation. And those roaches are going to be fantastic for that. He's researching all the upgrades he can, getting that +2 missile attacks, getting the Roach Burrow, throwing down additional macro hatcheries, and moving in once again with that huge Mutalisk Clump. And where is the army? It looks like here it is. 2 Archons. They are going to be able to do some good damage once again to that Mutalisk Clump, but will it be enough? And I have to say at this point in time, I'm thinking probably not. If ialgo somehow manages a comeback in this point in time, I guarantee you, as he is a Zerg player, he's going to be raging about how imbalanced Protoss is. But you know, Yusar definitely playing this very nicely. He's doing what harassment he can, not taking any huge risks until he decides to just go for that big army push. He knows that ialgo is down and out in terms of the worker advantage and just the mining advantage. So as the longer that he waits and the longer he denies the potential for any kind of big 3rd play, you know, any of that kind of stuff, the better of a situation he's going to be in. And yeah, guys, I mean, the roach count is starting to build up. We might be seeing an attack coming out of Yusar in the near future. Looks like he is gearing up, just positioning his roaches. Does have even a couple of Zerglings mixed in. He might actually have drop? No, does not have drop at this point in time, but does have a pretty nice swell of those overlords. A bit misrallied, but you know, no issues over here. He has complete map control at this point in time. So with the army clumping up and Yusar approaching the 200 maxed army position, ialgo is going to be in a very rough situation. There is the offensive GG with a C in front of it. That is that stands for completed question mark. Good game. And looks like Yusar going to be throwing out a little bit of BM in the situation. He knows he has a great and fantastic position in this game. But ialgo's continuing to morph in those Archons, and those Archons are going to be very effective against these Mutals and those Zerglings that Yusar does have. But they're going to have a very difficult time dealing against those Roaches. Once those Roaches come in, ialgo's going to be in for a big surprise. And the Mutals still doing some great damage. This Overlord thinks he's a Mutals. And fortunately for him, he's not really getting attacked at this point in time. He's not exactly the focus of attention. It's like, oh my god, the Mutalists, they're raining down fire and chaos with their glaive worms. And then there's the Overlord that's just kind of like watching it. He's like the spectator. He's like the freaking camera person that shows up on the battlefield. And all the other soldiers kind of like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm here to observe, guys. And you know, I can't really detect you know, hidden units like Dark Templars and stuff. You know, it's not StarCraft 1, but I'm here to observe, guys. I'll give you reinforcing thoughts. No, you stupid Overlord. We don't need that. We just need more units to do damage. Come on, man. But the Mutalists are going to be able to do a very fair amount of damage, and they're going to be pretty happy just picking away at all these units. And yeah, ialgo is dwindling on the mining. It does have actually 2 gas guards, but here come in the Banelings, wow, that Archon doing a massive amount of damage. Gets 5 additional kills with 1 shot, and actually all the Banelings do get taken out without doing that much damage, but still Yusar does have that money to expend. You can already see, even though he spent all of those Banelings on trying to take out the Nexus, does actually get the shields down, but you know, Yusar able to replenish that supply in no time. Those Mutals flying around, and it looks like finally the Roaches are going to decide to move in. Looks like he's going to move in right before the centrifugal hooks actually finishes, so he can use all those Banelings that he no longer has to actually move in and close in on the Protoss army. Unfortunately, that's not really going to happen, since when you have no Banelings, it's hard to actually move in very quickly. But these Roaches being able to take out that wall and being able to take out the Archons, and with the Archons gone, the Mutalists are going to be able to do some great damage to the Protoss ball. Protoss ball basically completely diminished. Now we're gonna have to, oh, actually it looks like we do still see 3 Archons over here. These Archons are gonna be doing a good amount of damage, but oh my god, even the burrow coming out, he's gonna be able to just unburrow in the main, take out any additional tech structures. Not that ialgo even has the economy to reproduce anything. He could just unburrow. There's the unburrow on the army. The Archon's a little bit confuzzled at this point in time, wishing that he has had some observers out, but there's a good game. Very well mannered by ialgo, throwing out that good game, despite the fact that he kind of got a bit of an offensive GG. And wow, that fighting spirit from ialgo proved just not to be enough. And thank you so much for ialgo for submitting me this replay. It takes balls to submit replays that you actually end up losing in, especially when you think, oh man, you know, ialgo submitted the replay and it looks like he's down and out, but there's going to be a comeback. No, ialgo tried as hard as he could not force that comeback. Great play though. Went for some, you know, honestly, some pretty good strategies considering he was already down and out. But those Archons not able to do the damage and pull out the defense he needed to take a 3rd or to defend his natural expansion. And yeah, really just kind of set him back. So a great plays from Yusar as well. That is going to actually conclude the game, so thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully if you enjoyed my commentary in any capacity whatsoever, go ahead and click the subscribe button over on my YouTube channel. That's pretty much where you're watching this. You don't have to go anywhere. You can also follow me on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/FearDragon64. I do a lot of live casting events, and occasionally I do like to ladder with my stream going. And actually, before I even plug my Twitter, I'm going to go ahead and say, the same way that this replay was sent, you can go ahead and submit your replays that you want casted to feardragon64@gmail.com. That's feardragon64@gmail.com. I'm going to go ahead and cast all the replays that are sent to me. And twitter.com/feardragon64. I go ahead and announce whenever I upload a video or whenever I'm going to be planning a big live event. I do actually have balance battles. For those of you who have been tuning in for a while, Balance Battles is an event that I have been doing and I haven't really done recently. That has to do a lot to do with the inconsistency of my internet, and I want Balance Battles to be a very consistent event that happens every Sunday at the same time, everyone can just kind of tune in and reliably go over there and have some fun, regardless of what league you're in. But with the inconsistency of my internet, I'm currently in a hotel. It's a long story, but I'm going to be in a hotel for a good another month or so. But in about a month, we will be seeing the return of Balance Battle, so go ahead and stay tuned for that. I will be broadcasting all my stuff over there on my Twitter, and of course I will be broadcasting the actual event on my Twitch TV channel. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like my video also. That definitely helps me. And leave a comment below if you feel so inclined. You know, I know a lot of YouTube does have some pretty hellish commentary shitholes, but hey, my channel's pretty clean right now. So go ahead and leave a comment. Love to hear your thoughts. That's going to be it for me, and that's it. That's all.